Hey Bookends! Welcome to this week's 10-minute book review. I'm 10. This week we're going to be featuring 2 book reviews on digital copies of books that we received on Kindle. One we purchased on our own, the other was received as an art copy via NetGalley. So starting off, we're going to show you the book that we purchased on our own. It is The Colored Line by Tiffany Richardson. The star point, we like to start off every video with a star point, as in out of 10 stars, how many stars would this book garner? And we also like to give a rating, as in if this was a movie, what would it be rated? So star point, this is a 7 out of 10 stars. It was really good. And as a rating, I'm definitely going to say PG because there is violence. There's not a lot of sex, but there is violence. So, and not heavy violence, just it touches on some things. So the book starts off with Nora Johnson. She witnesses her father being murdered in a complete act of police brutality. There was no kind of an accident. There was no getting around it. It was complete police brutality. Justice is served, but of course she is scarred. I'm sorry, I'm so hot. I turned off my air conditioner and my fan so you wouldn't hear the bzzz noise in the background. But yes, so she's scarred by this, but she's kind of scarred in a good way. Now when I say in a good way, you know, no one who loves their dad wants to see their dad die. But because of what happened, it pushed her to want to become a police officer, so that in her mind, she's like, the more good police officers there are, the less bad police officers there will be. Kind of like if you have dirty water and you keep flushing it with clean water, the water's still going to be dirty, but eventually it's going to start to dilute. And that was her thought process when it came to the police department. The less dirty cops or bad cops there were, the better the police force would be, of course. And the only way to do that would be to become a police officer herself. Her mother doesn't want her to do it because, of course, you know, line of danger. That's her only baby. Like, that, you know, just her only baby. So, but she supports her. And she becomes a police officer. What I thought was really cute is that the police chief, I believe, after her father died, he became like a second father to her. And it so kind of shows, the author kind of brought out, it's not all police that are bad. It's just some bad people. Like the police officer who killed her father was white, and I believe the police chief was white as well. So it's like not all white people are bad, not all police officers are bad. Like she made a very clear demarcation that this one particular person was a bad person. He was even a bad person to his own family. So she made that very clear, and I like that because she wasn't playing sides. She wasn't like, you know, this side's better than that side. She made it clear that this one particular person was evil, and because of him, he made everybody else on this side look bad. So when she starts her career as a police officer, when she gets put on beat, she is introduced to her partner, who is named Spencer. Now she doesn't want a partner, and he's not too fond of having her as a partner. But she believes the police chief did this so that she wouldn't have to go out on a beat on her own, which she's kind of resentful for. Like, she understands why he did it, but she doesn't like it. What I love about this book is it's not a love-hate relationship. Spencer, I just told you why she didn't want, you know, well, I didn't tell you that. She didn't want a partner because she wanted to prove that she could do this on her own. And she was really good in the police academy. Like, people like, oh, look at this short little black girl. You know, but she proved herself, you know, in the police academy, graduating with high honors. And so she felt like, I don't need someone to babysit me or to hold my hand or make sure I'm okay. I'm a full-fledged police officer. Treat me like a full-fledged police officer. Spencer, on the other hand, was thinking, oh my God, they just put me with a woman. And not even a scary looking woman. So if something goes down, nobody has my back. And Spencer, he decided to join the police force because his dad had been a police officer. His grandfather had been a police officer, I believe his great-grandfather. So it's not that he particularly wanted to, it's just in his blood, I guess, in his genes, like an expectation, like in an army family. You know, personally in my family, on my dad's side, they're an army family, and so like everyone went into the army or some form of armed forces. So I can understand that pressure to do something because everyone else in your family has done it and now it's your turn, you're the next generation. So I can understand that pressure that Spencer felt, and yeah, he did it. So they gain a mutual respect for each other, and Spencer starts to like her. He starts to liking Nora. Nora's a little bit skeptical, but she's like, oh, he's a sweet geek. He's a really sweet geek. So she starts to date him. Her mother doesn't like the fact that she's dating a white guy. She's like, you could do better. Like, you could find yourself a brother and do better. And her mother has her best friend, Nora's best friend, who is a guy. There's nothing sexual between the two of them. I think they dated like when they were like in elementary or middle school or something. Figured out they weren't the right ones for each other, and you know, just stayed friends. Her mother tries to get him to talk Nora out of dating Spencer, and she's like, bruh, mind your business. It makes me happy. I don't want to give away a spoiler because the book isn't long, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Okay, so Nora and Spencer are going along great. He wants to marry her. She finds out something about him that just rocks her entire world. And because of this, she's like, I can't be with you. I can't do this. You and me are not gonna work. Not because of you, but because of this thing I found out about you, about the people in your life. And Spencer, like, it's a thing, something from his past, right, that he didn't actually do, but that someone he knows was involved in it. So she's like, you're guilty by association. Spencer is like head over heels in love with her, and he still tries to get her back. In a way, he kind of did, but the book ends tragically, or at least the main part of the book ends tragically. The epilogue is nice. It does give some closure. I think this book would have been a 10 out of 10, and honestly, for me personally, if it had been a happy ending. It wasn't a bad book, and for some people, the ending is happy. Well, I should say, it gives closure. The ending is definitely closure filled, right? Because the author fast forwards, what, about 30 years maybe? 30, 40 years, something like that. Nora's an older woman by this time, so it gives closure, right? Because you get to see what happened with Nora. You find out what happened to Spencer before you get to the epilogue. And so you kind of, it gives closure. I'll just leave it at that. It gives closure. I would have liked a happy story. I would have liked a happily ever after, but I know in life that doesn't happen all the time, and yeah. And this book actually brought up a topic that I thought was interesting. Nobody was mad, right? Like Nora's mother, Nora's best friend, people in her community, nobody was mad that Spencer was white, right? They were mad that she was dating a white man. I thought that was very interesting, because usually you see it on the flip side. Usually you see people who are mad that this white person is tainting themselves with this black person. But it was on the flip side, like black people feeling like this beautiful black woman who could be doing so much better is tainting herself with this white dude. So I thought it was interesting doing the flip side of it. Yeah, so once again, PG-13, because there is violence. Her dad does die in the beginning, and they're police officers, so there is violence. There is no sex. There are kind of lovey scenes, but no sex, so that part is safe. And also it stays away from black trauma porn, which is something I hate, which is basically just making out like black people live horrible lives. Like, basically it's like imagining that Boys in the Hood and Jews and clockers are what black people face every day, and that's what some people face. That's not what all of us face. And for those of us who don't face it, or for those of us who do face it, we do like some fantasy in our lives as well, or just happy stories, because there is happiness within our community. So I like that this talked about black trauma without making black trauma porn, you know. So that was great. Next story is Bro by I believe it's Kaylee Allen. So this book we received as a ARC copy via NetGalley. So looking at the cover, you think this is like a salacious type book, like a lot of sex and stuff, like a lusty type book, like a erotica. Erotica? Yeah. A sex book, a smut book. You look at the cover and you think it's a smut book. It's not actually a smut book. It's actually kind of YA. I have no idea why the author decided to use like shirtless men in this. But it's actually a really sweet YA book. It's about these two brothers. One is named Cynthis and the other is named Kayelle. So Cynthis was he was adopted and raised by this really rich guy who's actually a really good thief who has his own thief guild. But he's gone straight and has a security company, but he still wants his son to learn how to be a thief. So he's really sweet to Cynthis because he says that's his son. Kif, on the other hand, didn't have it so easy. Kif was put into like a foster slave system. Technically, both him and Cynthis are both slaves, but he's being raised as a son by his owner, as opposed to Kif, who is forced to work in a brothel. And I say work in a brothel, but once again, there's no actual sex in it. It's just he works at a brothel. Not by choice, but it's like this is better than prison. So Sim decides that he finds out that he has a brother and he wants to go find his brother. His father already knew that he had a brother and was like, I don't want you to see him because I don't trust him. I don't know him and I don't trust him. Turns out his father is right because Keith, K-H-Y-F-F. Kayelle? I don't know. He feels as though Cynthis is the reason why their mother is dead and that things were good for, because Kayelle is the older brother, right? So it's a good book. I'm saying because I don't know how to pronounce these names, but Kayelle is the older brother, and he believes that life was good before Cynthis was born, and that if he hadn't been born, their mother would still be alive and he wouldn't be a slave. So he wants to kill his younger brother. They end up meeting up and he doesn't kill him because the father kind of stops him from doing it. But what ends up happening is the two become friends, kind of. Not really enemies, at least. It's a really, and it takes, okay, so fun fact. Cynthis is half human, half alien cat. There's some kind of alien cat breed. And then Kayelle, I believe, is full human, I want to say. They don't really go into what his lineage is, but so it leads me to believe that their mother was a human, not a alien cat. Now when you look on the cover, neither of them really look like they have alien sounds of the hood. Anyway, so yeah, neither of them really look like they have any cat in them. But yeah, it was a really good book, and for that, for this one we give it 10 out of 10 because it was, well, I'll say 8 out of 10 because the cover is misleading, and for a rating we'd give it a PG because there's no sex in it, and there's no cussing as I recall either. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye, bookends.